Welcome, Jack. Okay, I like to be on time, respectful of everyone else's time. People show up 3 minutes late. It's just like disrespectful, right? So thanks for being here on time. Couple slides and we're going to build stuff right in front of your eyes right away. What we're going to eventually end up with is a product genius. Product genius is a sales assistant. So we need to take the in-store experience of like walking in and be like, hey, can I help you? And you're like, yeah, I want a phone. What about this one? And that whole consultation. And we need to move that into, web spaces, or you could still be in a store, but maybe imagine a QR code next to a display of products and you can just bring up an advisor right then and there and ask some questions. That's what people want to do, right? They want to ask a question like, does it come in blue? And they don't want to search for that through a lot of text. They don't want to, they want to be matched. Does that make sense? Matching versus searching. Welcome in. So I forgot even what this video is about, to be honest. But these are the characters that we make. So digital humans are, of course, CGI. So anybody who's been in this space for a while, they've heard about avatars or digital beings or virtual this and that. We make digital humans. Digital humans are based on CGI, computer-generated imagery tools. It's the same techniques that Hollywood uses in the Marvel movies and anywhere that you need to like create something that can't be created in a 3D space. So even if you consume it on a 2D device like your phone, the character exists in a 3D world, which means we have lighting coming from different angles. We have camera angles that we can try. And, we can come up with these things that are hyper realistic. So digital humans are the product of UneeQ. Every digital human is unique, and UneeQ is digital humans. Now it's a mnemonic, and you all can remember that. We're at digitalhumans.com, and this is some of the characters we've created, some of the use cases that you quickly ran through. So the use case is obviously super important to decide if you're considering putting this at your company. We'll tell you that broadly speaking, support is where we shy away from because it's usually very complicated and nuanced, and everyone's got their 15 systems that they have to go look up records in and stuff like that. A lot of people think digital humans might be good in the customer service or the call center realm. Turns out not super. That's not really the case. Customers are already kind of pissed off when they're calling support. Like no one happily is like, hey, how are you doing? Right? I can't find my order. It's been a month, right? So we like to put the digital human in a capacity where they can delight and do something that the customer is excited about. So buying stuff is usually where everyone's got that dopamine going already. Like, yes, I'm gonna get a new phone. The digital human on the website can be that consultant, right? You got 3 questions. I know a lot about it. I watched the Apple keynote. I know it's coming out in the 15, but hey, can it? And you want somebody to ask, right? So think of it that way. That's what a product genius is. But anywhere, as you can see on the bullets that we have, you have the opportunity to use a digital human. One of the best ones that we like as a company, our customers here at this show, is the language tutor. So people who speak multiple languages, I'm one, we get to a point where we've run out of textbooks. Anybody in here who is multilingual knows that there's like the beginner, the intermediate, then you got the upper, and then maybe there's a level 4. And then beyond that, you're like, I really want to know how to call somebody an idiot, but in a polite way at a bar, but I work with them. And that's me with Japanese. I'm like, I need to know this real subtle stuff. And my teacher's like, you think too much. And I'm like, no. That's how business gets done at that level. There's no one to ask. There's no one to talk to. So language tutor is a really good one. Let's focus on Product Genius, though. We deployed this for a big telecommunications company in Europe, and they reported, after running it for a number of months, that they had a 2x sales conversion uplift, a 4x increase to upsell, so people bought more stuff than they normally would. And there was higher digital containment. So containment is like keeping people within the automation instead of having them say, I want to speak to a representative. Chatbots, they can do stuff, and I don't, I might really start a fight in this room if you represent a chatbot company, but without the context, without the human element, people bounce out of them. We all know that, right? The engagement's like 1.7 minute industry average and 3 turns and then representative, right? And so the digital human saw engagement up to like 7-8 minutes. If you had 8 minutes with somebody, you could get a lot more information communicated than if you just had 3 text-based interactions over 25 seconds. We all agree on just like physics, the containment of time means that 8 minutes is way better if you're a marketer, if you're a salesperson. So how we do it, obviously you train the conversation, create the personality, and all these characters can be customized, whatever you want it to look like. They can look like, okay, you saw a bunch of female characters in the video. That's what customers ask us for. Okay. A lot of times people, can you make a male? Can you make somebody who's not white? It's like, absolutely. Right. But by and large, customers are trying to find that middle of the road, least offensive 35-year-old female that could be your sister, your aunt, a young mother, something that's trustworthy and approachable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, guys that are 6'3" and look like me are not that most of the time. Yeah, I get it. Right. So we try and build what our customers want, but we can build anything. So try not to get fixated on what you see is like, oh, that's what they do. That's what people ask for. Right. I like the, blue Pandoran alien version that we have of Sophie. It's awesome. But, no business wants that apparently as their ambassador. All right. So then we integrate, and integration is what we are going to do. Did anybody come with a laptop ready to program? You did. All right. On the tablet. I'm gonna build it from like zero. So the first thing we need to do is mimic the brain. The brain is the thought process. That is your ChatGPT. That's your orchestration. That's your NLP. Whatever you think of it as, there is a mind somewhere that hears what you said and knows what you meant, and it needs to be the interface to take an input, a thought, and return an answer. We all understand that part, right? That can take literally any format that you can imagine. I can open that up right here and show you that this is what a simple web service in Node.js looks like. Okay, so we have a endpoint, right? It's going to only respond to post. And if I'm speaking like over anyone's head here, I apologize. We're going deep. So sorry, but that's what this is. And what we're going to do is when we receive a bunch of data, if it's a streamed data request, so streaming is a big deal, and like ChatGPT has streaming, we've all seen that it like prints out the words as you go. So in the world of the web, that's taking your message, it's slicing it up into little pieces, and it's like ninja starring them back to who you are, and you're kind of like catching them, and then you have to put them all together. So what you see on line 10 is like, we're going to reassemble all the ninja stars into a single ninja sword. Okay. And then after we are done getting stuff, we're going to go ahead and take what we received and parse it out as JSON. So in the web, a lot of stuff, like you think in JSON, you think of structured data or like key value pairs and things like that, but things are going across back and forth as like UTF-8 strings because reasons. So we have to like parse that back out, and then we're going to come up with some response. Now, can anyone tell me what the answer will be if we make a request to this web service? Welcome. That's all it's going to do. It's not very intelligent. It's not very useful. So this right here, where you see answer welcome, that's where your business's process string of text goes. Yeah. Hi, welcome to Verizon. How can I help you today? That's where that would go. For the purpose of this workshop, just says the word welcome. Could say anything. Could call a function that dips into a database, that pulls up somebody's profile, that greets them by name, blah, blah, blah. But that's all programming stuff that you can do, and you can make it do anything you want it to do. So we're all clear on that part. But for the argument, I got 45 minutes to like jam through this. We will just use this, and all it's going to do is say welcome. So one of the things that I like to do is show people how I start with this. So when you're trying to interface with one of our characters, we have some good documentation here on the website of the response format that we expect. Every company, every API has their specification. They've all got like, here's what it needs to look like when you reply to us. That's how our API works, right? And you're like, okay, fine. Orchestration is usually zippering those two things together. Like, well, here's how mine works. Well, here's how ours works. Well, you have a name field. Well, I have a full name field. And you have to like match that stuff together. I mean, that's the work of a lot of developers, right? And it's super boring, and everybody should just standardize, but they won't, so yay. And what we do is we'll take the response format, and this is how I use ChatGPT. Hey, I need you to give me a web service in Node.js that takes a JSON input, responds only to a post request, has the endpoint path of /API/v3/conversation, and then responds to me with the JSON example that I'm going to paste below. Nope, that was totally off the cuff. But ChatGPT is going to be like, oh, here you go. Boom, done. And then do you see how it says this is in Python? If anybody sees right there. But I said, oh, it got Node.js. Look at that. Smart. Okay. Sorry, I meant Node.js. There we go. And done. And that functionally looks almost exactly like what I already created that I showed you in the other window. Does that make sense? So going from 0 to something that's functional is super easy. Now, the next thing we would want to do is like boot that server up. And it could be Python, it could be Ruby, it could be C++ if you're a total masochist. Node is kind of what stitches most of like the actual stuff together. People are using JavaScript on the front end with React. They're using it in the middle with Node.js server side. And then they're using databases that are NoSQL like Mongo. So, you know, again, not trying to start any wars about which tool is the best, but this one is the same top to bottom. So we like to use it. When I start the service on, anyway, the file says port 3001. Not exactly sure where I put the 3001. Oh, it's an environment variable. So we've got it, oh, there it is. So we've got it running on a single port, can run on anything. And then what we can do to test it is we can come over to, I got the ngrok thing running too. Does anybody know what ngrok is? No? Some people do. Ngrok is a reverse tunneling application. You can go to like, just Google like ngrok VPN and there's like a little installer and then double click and run it. And it gives you a reverse tunnel, as you can see here, to your laptop. So as a developer, when you're trying to test, will this work outside of my local area network? This is a godsend tool. Okay, like without this, everything comes to a halt. So as you can see, I've got this tunnel and it's pointing at my local host port 3001, right? So now we are going to post, and this is that same address, trust me. And I said I want API v3 conversation as an endpoint. And endpoint's just, you know, like the address, the URL is your house, and then the endpoint's like which room in your house, for those of you that are not doing this all the time. So that's the separation. And then I say send, and I send my request, and then what do I get back? Welcome. So now what I could do is I can take this URL, and I can go into UneeQ's creator portal, and we can create a persona. Let's use Sophie. Let's use any preferences, whatever. We'll do the gray one. And then that's a good name. And then we'll go ahead and choose the dialect. She's going to be US English. You can see we use a number of platforms. The Azure is the only one that popped up here, but we have Amazon. We have Well Said. Actually, we don't do Well Said anymore, do we? Took out Well Said. We have Amazon. We have Azure. We have Google. But anybody could bring their own voice. So we have something called BYOTTS. If you're a TTS provider in this room and you're like, we're better than them, awesome. We can use your voices for our characters. It's just a simple API integration, right? But these guys are the bigs, as I'm sure we can all acknowledge. So that's what people probably have. All right, so let's listen.
I'm a digital human.
That's Jenny's voice. Yay. TTS works. Cool. So we're going to go ahead and start the conversation. You can see this is coming up in a web browser.
Hello there.
She starts talking.
So great to meet you. Thanks for spinning me
Okay.
up.
Tired of hearing you talk. So now we are going to add our conversation service. So remember that fantastic name that I gave her? All we have to do is come down and click bring your own conversation platform, and we can grab that URL and we can save it. And the next time that I boot her up, the only thing she's going to be able to say is welcome. Because that's the only thing that web service does. Nothing else. Please talk. Okay, fine. She doesn't want to talk. Bad gateway. Did I put in the wrong one? Yeah, there's my question. And yep, screwed up that really quickly. So that's cool. So there was no answer. So my bad on that. But we do have one that's fully working that I can punch in just a second. So I've got this service running on Heroku. Everybody familiar with Heroku? Yeah? Super great service. I can paste that in and save that, and then she will be connected to a service that's already running. Okay. And I dressed it up a little bit for the purpose of the workshop, and we've kind of got a full website. But this is just a web page. This is just HTML, and that's a little MP4 video
Hi,
that's
everyone.
looping.
It's great to be here
Right.
with you at the Voice and AI convention.
Can you
What's
hear
up?
her? Yeah. So not much. What's up with you? Little spinner. She's thinking.
Just here, rockin' and rollin', ready to chat. So, what brings you to the conversational AI world today? Looking for some deep insights or just curious about this snazzy technology?
Notice how she's got a little bit of an attitude, right? She's a little bit snarky, okay? And ChatGPT allows us to do stuff like that. So part of the workshop, with an eye on time, I want to make sure I have time for questions. I'm kind of smashing my way through. Is the ability to inform that personality. So anybody who's used ChatGPT knows that there's an array of messages. The first message is a system prompt. This is what will always be carried with ChatGPT. So every turn, there is like an identity. Just think of it as their identity, right? That's what the system prompt does. And then think of the roles as who's talking. So the user is a human, and the assistant is the digital human. We don't define those tags. If you've used ChatGPT in an API capacity, like that's what the documentation says. So that's what we use. We find that, and I mean, everybody's mileage may vary, but we find that when you give it a little bit of a primer, that kind of gets the conversation rolling. So behind every digital human, there's sort of like a generic prime the pump, like, hey, welcome. Oh, hey, how are you? Oh, hey, what brings you here? Oh, I'm here for reason. And then like the AI takes over, and it's really good at knowing what to do. But one of the things we wanted to do live for you all is change this and show you how quickly these characters can take on that sales advisor, that product genius role. So right now she's got this default personality, and it's very, very generic, right? Introduce conversational AI. You're sarcastic and snarky, as you can see there. And so she's like, hey, what brings you here? What's going on? And we can roll with that. But what I wanted to do was ask anybody in the room represent a product company, like you build stuff people buy at Best Buy or something like that. Nobody. You build robots, not something I buy at Best Buy. Sorry. Printers. Thank you. Are you from Epson? Yes. Who else? Yes, I know what you do, and yeah, I'll let you talk about that. So maybe you can see in the tabs up here, but I saw that Epson had decided to come here, and so to keep this thing very short, what I did a day ago was go to the Epson webpage and find some printers. Like this is just like a home, I mean, we've all seen a page similar to this with products from companies. Like, no disrespect at all. It's just like, this is what we see, right? And which one should I buy? Like, who knows? And if you know what you're trying to do, then maybe you're like, oh, I want the 189 one, or I just need something that does photos, or that's when you're searching because you know what you're about. But matching, the product genius is about consulting, figuring out what they need to do, and then trying to match them with the right product to meet their needs. That's what a salesperson does in a store. Otherwise, why do we pay them? Agreed? So it's not search, it's match. Search, they've got down. They've got a bunch of filters. They've got a little search bar, sort availability, all this stuff. But that's if you know what you're looking for. And I have no idea. Trust me. Like every time my printer runs out of ink, I just buy a new one because I don't know even what to look for to replace it, right? You go to Costco, there's a whole aisle of inks and they just have numbers. And it's like, oh, just match the number, and I just can't be bothered. So new printer every time. Which is probably what you guys are doing on purpose. Okay. So what I noticed when I looked at the Epson content here, right here. Now this is pretty cool. This is their web page, right? In JSON. We talked about JSON earlier. We talked about keys and values, and you can see that they've got some stuff that's pretty straightforward. Product SKUs. Anyone here familiar with SKUs, right? They've got some like stock, like is it sellable or not? Yes, no, Boolean. They've got some pricing, right? Et cetera, et cetera. Pretty easy. So all I did, I swear, all I did was I highlighted this entire thing of JSON and I smashed it in to my prompt. Here it is. Bunch of stuff. Agreed? I'm going really fast. Right? So here's my Expression Premium XP 6100 printer. I mean, I did nothing other than grab the JSON off the page, throw it in the prompt, string escape, because reasons. Now, what I can do is I can grab that entire thing that I put more than 2 minutes of effort into this. And I can go over to my, this is like the thing that actually controls our stuff. I'm going to paste that in. We're going to see a little query ran successfully and a little refresh. And then when I go back to Sophie, she has booted up in her head. Okay, let's test a couple things. What's your name?
My name is Sophie. I'm here to assist you with any questions or information you need. How can I help you today?
She's not as cheeky. She got rid of the yo, yo, yo. What's up? How you doing? You here for this jazzy text? She got rid of that, right? So then I say, I'm looking for a new printer. Little
That's
thinking.
great. I'd be happy to help you find a new printer. Could you please let me know what specific features or requirements you have in mind for your new printer? This will help me recommend the best Epson printer that suits your needs.
Did you hear her say Epson? Did you hear how polite she is? She's so polite, right? And then I say, I need something that'll print photographs. Don't give her some time to think. We all know ChatGPT ain't fast. She's thinking a lot. Okay, I'm impatient. We will make her go faster. Come on.
Hi everyone. It's great to be here with you at the Voice and AI convention. What's up? Of course. I'd be happy to help you find the perfect Epson printer. Could you please let me know what specific needs or requirements you have for a printer? That way, I can Great. If you're looking to print photos, I recommend the Epson Expression Photo XP 970 Small-in-One printer. It's designed specifically for high-quality photo printing. With its advanced technology and vibrant color reproduction,
She's a good salesperson.
The Epson Expression Photo XP 970 Small-in-One printer is priced at $329.99. It offers excellent photo printing capabilities while still being within a reasonable budget. Let me know if you have any other questions or if there's anything else I can assist you with.
Awesome, right? Like, I did very little work. Now, to be fair, one of the things I think what Steve Jobs said is, technology needs to be indistinguishable from magic at the point where it's just like highly usable, right? That took many years of R&D and a lot of money to figure out how to make it that simple. Okay, you guys get the benefit of all that research, but don't walk out thinking, oh, it's super cheap. It ain't cheap. It's just really powerful. And it took us a long, long, long time to get to this level. Plus, it's not super useful, in my opinion, if all she can do is talk Epson, right? Like maybe that's what Epson wants, or that's what Epson wants, or Verizon. All they want is like cell phones, sell, packages, sell internet, right? Or our car companies, things like that, sell more cars, right? But that's not what salespeople do. I'm a salesperson. I'm not just talking about digital humans up here. I'm making jokes, I'm riffing, we're trying to be fun and entertaining. I mean, that's the human element that you've heard at this show when we talk about conversational AI. If we want humans to embrace machines, they need to talk like us. And we don't talk like, here's the printer for your needs. That's what marketing people do on commercials. That's what lawyers do in the copy that they print in magazines and stuff like that. But that's not what people do. When we get face to face in a store, it's, hey, how you doing? Oh, how about that weather? Oh, you been to a baseball game lately? The riffing, the rapport. We all know it. I'm not telling you anything that's magical. It's like such a deep part of the human experience. And people who are good at that happen to be good salespeople, but they're not good at selling. They're just good at like interacting with other people. They're good at like making a bond. That's what digital humans can do that respect anybody in the room who's a chatbot vendor, you can't do in chat. I don't care how many emojis you throw at the output. It just ain't the same. And I have my opinions, but I think everybody would prefer to like communicate with their son or daughter or dog or whatever through the eyes, through the face, through the body. Agreed? So it's pretty clear that that's like what we need. And so if I say to her like, I really like cookies, but I know I shouldn't eat them. It's got nothing to do with Epson. Yes, one second. I'm almost there.
It's understandable to have a liking for cookies. They can be delicious treats. While indulging in moderation is perfectly fine, it's also important to maintain a balanced diet. You could try incorporating
Thank you
healthier
very much.
alternatives like homemade oatmeal or fruit-based cookies. Remember, balance is key.
Thank you. Yeah, and you just like feel good, right?
The weather is 94 degrees and mostly cloudy in Washington, D.C.
She gets tripped up on the period, and any TTS person in the room is like, yeah, okay, we need some SSML to get around that. So you heard a correct answer, though. What we're doing is not just relying on ChatGPT. This is my last point. I'm running out of time. The last point is that we don't only rely on Gen AI. Okay? We often get the question, how do you make sure it's safe? How do you put guardrails? And I say, that's what a firewall is for. Don't let it get in the network. So she, and I'm not going to do this in front of you all, she will not respond to abuse. She will not be hacked. Prompt engineering is blocked before it ever gets to the point of making a request to ChatGPT. We filter all that crap out. Now, it's okay to be snarky. I'm a bit snarky, but profanity, sexualization, people absolutely do that to Sophie. Okay? Misogyny, racism, hate speech, these things are blocked in the orchestration before it ever gets as far as the Gen AI model. So if you're a big business and you're like, well, we're worried about somebody coming in and using Dan mode to hack the prompt and get around ChatGPT's safeguards, we don't even let it get that far. And that's why there are firewalls in corporate networks. Agreed? To block the packets that shouldn't even be processed by the router. So that's the kind of architecture that our company has come up with. She's connected to multiple systems. When I ask a question about the weather, I don't need Gen AI. Weather.com. You see what I mean? Why would I ask something that's just going to hallucinate when I can ask something that's been powering the app on your phone perfectly well for a decade? So don't just think of Gen AI as like the Thor hammer I'm going to use to smash all my problems. Okay? I got 3 minutes. I was going to show 3 or 4 more things. Ma'am, I saw your hand up. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. We do have a more full PDF PowerPoint that we can hand you, sir. I'm going to 2? Nice. I thought it was 145. I'm back. So up here are some of your numbers. Danny sitting right next to you in the black shirt. That's our CEO. Other way. Danny can hook you up with some literature that has a little more use case detail. In general, these are numbers that our customers reported to us in Product Genius use cases. Okay? I'm not naming the company. It's a telecom company, not you guys. Hopefully. Please, yeah. We found that the engagement, and I repeated at the beginning, about 8 minutes they would spend with a digital human versus like the industry average was something like 1.7 minutes. I don't know how many seconds that is. We found that people were much more forgiving of the digital human. They were more willing to listen. They asked additional questions that they would not ask to a chatbot. And what they did was buy more stuff. So when you match somebody with what they're looking for, they feel like they are getting a good deal because they feel educated on the purchase, right? So when you say, here's bandwidth plans, small, medium, large, most people, and maybe you guys can validate this, most people go for medium. When given 3 choices, they go for the middle because we don't want the cheap one, and I don't really know the value of the expensive one. This is the safe one. What we found with the digital human is when you could educate people on the reason a higher bandwidth plan makes sense. Oh, I've got 4 kids. They're all boys. They all have Xboxes. They're going to play games. They're on Fortnite. They need a lot of streaming. Then like a busy working mom who doesn't know about bandwidth, she's like, oh, well, obviously we need the expensive one. Right? So they're being matched with the product that meets their needs because of the consultation. And the reason they don't get it in the store is that same mom who's super busy with 4 kids walks in and sees some 16-year-old part-time high schooler and doesn't want to ask that kid for advice. Do you? I don't. I know I'm prideful. Like you have to admit it. You have to be like, I don't want to talk to somebody who's half my age about stuff and sound like an idiot. And if we can just say that in our heads and be like, yeah, that's true, and just admit that we all have those blockers, the digital human takes that away. No one's intimidated by Sophie. They're like, you're a stupid robot. I can say whatever I want. And they do. And that's where all those filters come in, is like filter out the bad stuff. And then she'll say, oh, let's get back on topic. And they're like, okay, I don't really know what bandwidth means. And in that moment of being vulnerable and open and willing to ask a question that you would otherwise feel like a dummy for asking to another person, the value of the digital human has just superseded anything else. But without it, Gen AI can answer the question, but no one wants to talk to a moving light. That feels even stupider, to just see Alexa, you know, and you're like, oh my God, I'm looking at a black cylinder trying to figure this out, right? The face adds so much to the experience. So anyway, that's what we do. More like, now that I know I got more time, let's see what it looks like on a full experience, right? I smashed in the Epson data. She could answer some questions. That's cool, but how do you make visuals? How do you merge it with the website we have? I know those questions are coming. So we will go ahead and ask Clara. So Clara represents Dell. So Dell is a big customer of ours, big partner. I'm just gonna load. Oh, I've got this one going. My bad. Here we go. Sorry. That's not how I spell my name.
Hi, Tyler. My name is Clara. I can answer questions or make a recommendation. Is there anything I can help with?
Yeah, I'm going on a business trip pretty soon, and I need a new laptop.
Hi, Tyler. I'd be happy to help you find the perfect laptop for your upcoming business trip. To start, could you please let me know what specific tasks or activities you'll be using the laptop for during your trip? This will help me recommend a Dell computer that suits your needs.
I'm going to do some Microsoft Office work, like in Excel or Word, but most of the time I'm just going to watch movies.
Great, Tyler. Based on your needs for Microsoft Office work and movie watching, I recommend the Dell new Inspiron 14-2 in one laptop. It's a versatile laptop that allows you to easily switch between productivity tasks and entertainment. The Dell new Inspiron 14-2 in one laptop comes with a touch display in full HD plus resolution, providing crisp visuals for movies. Its Intel-registered Iris-registered safe graphics ensures smooth playback of videos. Additionally, it has an efficient processor.
She heard the
that can handle
movies,
your
and
Microsoft
she picked
Office
up on I
tasks
was
seamlessly.
talking about movies.
This laptop offers the flexibility of being used as both a traditional laptop and a tablet thanks to its two-in-one design. This means you can comfortably watch movies in tablet mode or use it like a...
Yeah, that's we got some TTS vendors in the room. Yeah. Well, we're at a voice convention, so yeah, we can use any TTS provider. There's a bunch of you guys at the conference. We definitely agree. We're not a TTS vendor, just so I'm very clear. Like, that's not what we do at UneeQ. We use APIs from services. So if you are in this room and you're like, our voices sound better, great. Let's talk. Let's plug them in. Okay, I mean, no worries. That's just an Azure voice. It's something that people pick up on for sure. And there's trade-offs, right? If you want it to be really fast, you're not going to get the best of the best of the best Hollywood studio quality, because those TTS vendors have to background process and render offline to get these like uncompressed MP3 files that just sound HD, that are amazing. I get it, but we're in the real-time world. I need things to turn in like less than 1 second, and that was like 4 or 5 seconds. It's still too slow. So there's always going to be a trade-off still, right? There's going to be a trade-off, right? It's good, fast, and cheap. So, good and fast is what we want, and cheap is not an option, right? She is multilingual. Thanks for asking. That's my favorite part. I will demonstrate in Japanese. This demo, yeah, let me try. She crashes. This demo, she is multilingual, Piers, isn't she? Clara can do, on this site, can she do? Yeah. I know there's one where she absolutely is, so, because I built it. Okay, so she's going to be able to respond to me in any language that I pass text through, but she's only going to hear in English and Japanese, okay?
I'm a digital human. I can converse in many languages. What's your name?
help her out.
Hello, Tyler. How can I assist you today?
私の名前はタイラーと申します。よろしくお願いします。日本語で話せますでしょうか？
はい、平さん、よろしくお願いします。私は日本語で話すことができますので、どのようなご質問やご要望がありますか？
What do we want to do? Dutch? I don't think she has. Maybe let's try. Why not? She can't hear, so there's some nuance here. We can get into the nuance. She can only hear in English and Japanese right now. It's a limitation of the STT system. There's a limited number of locales. Well, it's not like super. Anyway, we could talk about that. What should I ask her? Please introduce yourself in Dutch. Oh, actually, why is Matthew Vanderpool the best cyclist who ever lived? Yes, it's not that. Sorry, this is my personal. Yes, sir. It won't? Did I can add Dutch, can't I? She can't do Dutch unless we configure her. Where's what coming from? Sorry. That's this is Azure, Microsoft Azure for these demos, right? But she could do, German, any German speakers. She'll just go in and out of whatever language. It's not translation. Do I have German?
Mathieu van der Poel wird von vielen als einer der besten Radfahrer angesehen, die je gelebt haben. Seine außergewöhnlichen Fähigkeiten
Anybody in German speaker? I have no idea what she's saying.
einen herausragenden Athleten gemacht. Ist bekannt für seine Vielseitigkeit.
Okay, we'll make her shut up. I don't like. This is one of those moments where it's like we didn't invent it, but we came up with a clever way to implement tools, and I don't want to sit here and explain it and give away all the trade secrets. So it's not translation. I want to sell my product, not give it away. So yeah, so you guys can figure it out. We didn't invent this process, but we did cleverly. Well, she's not configured for Dutch, and I know why. And I could configure in 5 minutes, but I'm trying to. Sorry, sir, you have a question? Yeah. So every character through a product that we call Synapse. Synapse is the preparation of words to spoken word. Okay, so the LLM or NLP or whatever is going to give us a string of text, right? But how we say it is the responsibility of SSML. And there's tags in SSML like pronunciation, phonemes, things like that, right? We created a product called Synapse, which prepares text for speech. It's not a text-to-speech engine, to be clear. It's not taking text and generating an audio file. It is preparing the text for that generation. And this is the domain of manual programming for many people who are building voice assistants. They are manually putting in prosody tags and setting the rate equal to plus 10% so that she's a little bit faster. Or maybe they've cleverly come up with a user interface where the user can say 1.25x playback, and that will automatically add the rate tag for every response to the SSML to go to the voice engine, et cetera, right? Synapse is responsible for that, plus a lot of other stuff, such as the emotional stuff. So one of the things that, if you saw my demo, where is my... In the Git lab presentation, the guy was like, if you have too many tabs open, you should shut them down. Remember when he said that? I opened more just to spite him. I opened my laptop and I was like, never. So here is I swear to God, I was like, I'm opening 5 more. This is these are some of the actions that Synonym is our animation system. Synapse drives Synonym. Just like there's a part of your brain that sends signals to make your muscles move. They're 2 separate processes in the body. Agreed? Right? So Synonym, what you're seeing right here, is the character's ability to move and emote. And this is like, if I leave you with one thing today and you walk out of the room and you're like, oh, they make avatars. No, we are not an avatar company. These are digital humans. Humans have human locomotion. A talking train cannot locomote in the same way a person can. It doesn't have fingers, presumably, right? So there are things like that. You have to drag me off. No, just kidding. So you can see that Sophie is communicating without words. She's making all kinds of gestures that we all understand. We know what she means. And she doesn't have to say a thing. So I know we're at a voice convention. I know that many people here are going to be hard on voice is the most important thing. It is a very important thing. There is a community of deaf people in every country that doesn't hear anything. So don't tell me that voice is the only way to communicate, nor that is the most important. If you said to a deaf person, oh, just read the subtitles. No, that's like offending their whole culture. And I found that out the hard way. So I don't think so. I don't think it's at that level of that'd be interesting. I mean, obviously I'm not deaf, but I would like to talk to somebody who's truly deaf and see if they could like read her lips when she's talking. That would be very interesting, actually. I've never tried that. I've never asked anybody. Soon. That's yeah. And she's well, this video is about the hands. If you saw our videos, oh, I'll show you another video. You want to see the face? I'll show you the face. I want you to know I was very sad that you didn't recognize when I said Matthew Vanderpool. He is the Netherlands' most amazing and impressive cyclist. He just won the world championship. Cyclocross and road world champion. It's never been done before. Anyway, here are two models. One is showing on my right. I guess your right too. She doesn't have the broadness of emotions on the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side, it's a comparison, and you'll be able to see the intensity of emotions as the little red dot kind of moves around. And I don't have too much time, so we're going to skip to the ones that are super obvious. So you can see the difference in surprise as her mouth opens, as the intensity of surprise takes over, and the red dot in the little wheel is kind of what's controlling the intensity. So synonym is this is the debug overview of what synonym is doing. These aren't animation loops. We don't take people into mocap studios and film them and then save a file as surprise.mp4 or whatever. Okay, this is AI for locomotion. So just like the LLM is AI for language, this is AI for movement. That's what synonym does. That's its purpose. Yeah. The wheel comes out of the psychology something, book publisher, I don't know. But the animators basically took it's kind of like the color wheel for human emotion. Yeah. So we base it on science, and as you can see, she's incredibly expressive in the face. The other video was an example of just the body movements, right? So her face, the whole point was like, look at her hands. Don't look at what she's doing on her face. But as you can see, one of my favorites, and then I think I'm going to get dragged off, disgust and stuff. And just like, anybody in the room who's married has seen this look at some point, right? And tell me that she needs a voice to communicate. Like, that's volumes right there, guys. Agreed? You're like, uh-oh, this is not going to be a good day for me. And I think anger's the next one. So here you can see how, this is my 14-year-old when I ask her to unload the dishwasher, right? We don't need words. We don't need, anyway, we need all three, right? We need the brain, we need the voice, we need the movement. But that's a very mad 13-year-old right there. So this is what we do, guys, is we create that AI of locomotion, of human emotion. The characters can look like anything you want them to look like. We work with enterprise companies first and foremost. We don't make caricatures or cartoons or kitschy things like that, because most of the use cases where digital humans make the most sense are people don't want to be, it's almost like you're making fun of them, right? I don't want to go into a Verizon store and pay $1,000 for a phone that I bought from Mickey Mouse. Like there are times where you just need the seriousness of human to human communication for it to make sense. So we're the digital human company because we focus on those kind of serious use cases, buying a phone is not as serious as like a cancer diagnosis, but I think you take my point. No one wants to feel like they're being talked down to. And somehow if you go too cheap on the animation, it works in commercials, but it doesn't work in real life, right? Like you can advertise to me something with like a little character doing whatever on TV. It's like, oh, that's cute. But when I walk into a store, I expect a person to be there. Does that make sense? So many times people are like, well, we want to like take it down a level, be more like Pixar, this and that. It doesn't work. The users tell us it doesn't work, right? They're just like, I'm not going to buy a $3,000 MacBook from a Pixar character. Like, what's wrong with you? So if you're going to have a deployment using one of our characters, you need to make an investment. It's an amazing outcome, but you know what I mean? It's not, you can't just mess around and throw $20 at it and expect it to solve problems. So I'm 1 minute over. Am I being drug off? She's like, done. You're done. I can ask any questions you guys want outside. Thank you.